सदाशिवसमारम्भाम् शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः। So welcome everyone once again, and I will start. Can we see the screen, please?
Yes.
Before we so before we start the next part, I thought we just quickly revise this Anubandha Chatushtayam because it is very essential in the entire context of understanding the value of a scriptural study. Firstly, these are the determining factors. What will determine that it should be given the value of a shastram? The scripture word itself in English has a lot of meaning to it. But Veda and along with it, all the literature, scriptural in quote unquote words that follows with it is more closer to be called as shastram because it is educative. Scripture can also be a sermon, God's sermons, but Vedas are entirely educative. Being educative by nature, shastram word means that which empowers another with education. That shastram, every book cannot be called a shastram. For it to be called a shastram, there is a criteria fixed by the, you may call them Vedic researchers, the rishis. You may call them subjective researchers. You may call them subjective scientists. You use whichever term. But they have very carefully discerned what would fall into the category of being called a Shastra. And here in this context, we are talking of Vedanta Shastra. As I said yesterday, just because someone can write a book which can be written is also a part of the study. Prakarna Granthas are all author-based. Being author-based, it means everybody is free to write. Now, if we write on our own and we use terminologies which seem to be Vedantic, but we have given them entirely our own interpretation, should that book be called a Shastra? No. For it to be called a Shastram, there has to be the fourfold qualifiers. And these qualifiers, content of that, when it is in accordance to the Shruti, which is the Ved Praman, then alone it will be called a Shastra. These four are first actually should be Vishaya. Vishaya means topic. What is the topic that this book is going to be elaborating upon or has touched upon? What has the author written on? What is the subject matter of the book? Because now it's author based, so it is a book. What is that book content? What is the topic it discusses? When the topic is the absolute Brahman, ultimate truth, ultimate reality, the fundamental reality, your truth, when the topic is centered around this one factor, then it becomes a topic close to what the Shastra says. Because Shastra is only talking of your truth, who you are, essentially. When a subject is spoken by an author and it also touches upon the same topic, and to touch upon that topic, it can use a lot of methods and prakriyas, individual examples, that is accepted. But the topic cannot deviate from the topic of the Vedic Shastra, which means the Shruti Praman, which means the Upanishads. The topic being that Brahma Atma Aikyam, then this Prakarna Grantha, or what can be called as a Shastram, must also elaborate who should be eligible for it. Means to know this topic, though everybody has a right for it, but has everybody earned the eligibility for it? They are two different things. Right, every human being has a right for knowledge. But we have seen, however, there are many children who are put to education, but they abhor it. They run away from it. Entire social programming of education does not succeed fully because the individual interest to learn also is accounting for how much a person can learn. How much can he be taught is another thing, but how much is he ready to learn is something else. Adhikari means how much has the person qualified himself. Qualification is a very strong word. Adhikari means how much has he raised his interest and earned his eligibility to fall in line with the topic that when it is going to be disclosed, given, he has the receptivity for it. There is an interest is only one of the criteria. The book must elaborate what are going to be the qualifying things so that a student, a receiver, understands these qualifying criteria and also makes a self-assessment. Most useful is a self-assessment. I will know for myself when I see these yardsticks how much I lack, how much I have, how much I can improve, where I can improve, etc., etc. So a book which touches upon the topic must also touch upon who are the ones who will glide into the topic. आराम से आ जाएगा, है ना? Because वो जो मेहनत करनी चाहिए समझने की, अंदर की तैयारी, वो already पहले कर चुके हैं. Because of this, they will find that it becomes, when the topic is given, it will be like, putting water on sponge. When your antakaran, your inner, you will see this as we move in the text. When your interest has grown so much to know the truth, and you have also understood what in the name of truth is really not the truth. And when truth comes to you in life, it just gets absorbed in you. Your mind soaks it. It fills you. The best example is like water on a sponge. It just percolates your entire thinking because this is what resonates with you. This is what is the truth you were looking for. But if that happens, it only can be that you have qualified yourself for receiving the knowledge. As I said before, the knowledge is Atma Brahma Aikyam. And you go back to yesterday's class and you realize Ved is a praman for knowledge which is not sense based. You don't get that verification, because of which the knowledge becomes subtle to grasp. Subtle means like physics equation E is equal to mc square. I mean, it's not everybody's capacity to understand the equation, even though it is accepted. That is now moving into realms of abstractness. Brahma Vidya is absolutely beyond abstract, is the right word. Abstract is still conceivable by the intellect, but Brahma Vidya works in the manner in which it will only point to what you know as an experience, for which what all you think you know must be discarded away. So Adhikari was a person who has worked on himself, not got caught up in false assumptions and presumptions and conclusions, and has kept the mind fertile to receive the knowledge when it comes in life. This Adhikari has more eligibility. The book is going to talk about it. That means topic को justify करने के लिए the person should also be risen enough to receive it. In English, there is a very strong kahavat, throwing pearls before a dash dash. What does that kahavat mean? It just means that when you lay out even the subtlest truths to a non-receiver whose mind is still not in a ready mode for valuing what they are receiving, it'll be as good as wastage. It's not received. It has bounced back from the person. Means कोई फायदा नहीं था. निष्प्रयोजन would be the right word. Means you hit a dead end and it is of no use to the person. This adhikari means when the knowledge is given to the deserving person, how you have in your reservation system, many times non-deservers get the seats and the deserving don't get it. Now that is another kind of a injury. Adhikari means you are in a ready mode to receive this subtle topic. And what should be its prayojan? Its prayojan has to be, the book must share the prayojan of what the Vishaya talks about. The prayojan should be something that the adhikari is looking for. If I'm looking for freedom, then the prayojan should also be elaborated in terms of freedom. Prayojan would invariably of Veda Shastra, Vedanta Shastra in particular, the prayojan is moksha, means absolute freedom. Of the Vedanta Karma Kand, the prayojan is not moksha. Prayojan is a comfortable life. Now, what will make these two different shastra will be depending upon the two different Anubandha Chatushtayam. The last being Sambandha, connection. Means जो मैं पढ़ रही हूँ, I want to embark, like I said yesterday, the whole shastram can take a couple of years in a person's life. What is going to be the connection with what I want in life? What is the connection with what I wish to become in life? What is the connection with what I see in life? What is the connection with this creation around me? What is the connection of what I am learning? Has it got anything to do with God, Ishwar? Has it got anything to do with truths of life? All these connections should be elaborated. So to summarize this, it's very essential to get it in the beginning. Anubandha Chatushtayam is a criteria, firstly, to fix what should be given the status of Shastram in my mind. If I can say this is a Shastram, then my approach to that topic will be less skeptical because it already has a validity. I just have to follow it. I do not have to question it to understand its validity. Anubandha Chatushtayam does that work for us. So if the author is talking within that, then I don't have to go through the process of discerning whether this book is valid for what I want or not. The author has specified it to make it easy for the student. Second part of Anubandha Chatushtayam is that it will differentiate Karma Kand from Jnana Kand. Because कर्म कांड का अधिकारी अलग होगा, बिकॉज उसका प्रयोजन अलग है. कर्म कांड का प्रयोजन इज नॉट मोक्ष. कर्म कांड का प्रयोजन इज लोकांतर प्राप्ति, सुख प्राप्ति, दुख निवृत्ति. कर्म कांड का प्रयोजन इज पुत्र कामेष्टि. कर्म कांड का प्रयोजन इज स्मॉल धन प्राप्ति, comforts, doing karmas for gains. Karam Kand will give us maximum gain up to Indralok, Brahmalok. This is the purpose of Karam Kand entirely. And now you can understand what Karma Kand is. The Samhita part, which also incidentally is called the Mantra Bhag, the Brahmana Bhag, and a part of the Aranyaka part, all these come into Karam Kand, which includes Upasana Kand. इन सब का फॉलोवर जो होगा उसका पर्पस होगा comfort here and hereafter, because he believes in Veda, he believes in rebirth. Because he believes in rebirth, he accepts rebirth. He wants his life to always be in a comfortable zone. He wants more pleasures in his life. He wants less struggles in his life. And to get those less struggles and more comforts in his life, he takes to the part of Karma Kand. That Karma Kand ka adhikari is only that much. He doesn't need to be a jignasu. He can be a very good, in fact, less a jignasu, he may be better a follower of Karma Kandi. Because if you have jignasa, if you have questioning in you regarding to what am I doing, what am I getting, where will this karma lead me finally, how much effort to put in for that little thing. If you have questioning with reference to Karma Kand, you almost get disqualified from Karma Kand and you get qualified for Jnana Kand. Because Jnana Kand ka adhikari will be a mumukshu. Karma Kand ka adhikari is not a mumukshu. Topic is also how to do those karmas. Jnana Kand, the topic is only Jnanam. Prayojan, Karma Kand Prayojan is only to see Lokantara Prapti, Janmantara Prapti. Jnana Kand Prayojan is Moksha. Sambandha is, here in Karma Kand, it is causation, Karya Karana Sambandha. In Jnana Kand, it is Pratipadana Pratipadya Sambandha. Revealer, revealed relation in the form of revealing all this. So, to understand Anubandha Chatushtayam and to see that any text that we take for our personal study must also fall into it. And we just saw yesterday that yes, Tattva Bodha fulfills this criteria. It touches upon all the topics and therefore will help me understand the content of Atma Brahma Aikyam, the subject. Therefore, we can embark upon its study. And before that, I said we will do the invocation that I have been chanting. This invocation, excuse me, is primarily to invoke the grace as in anugraha, to remove the pratibandhakas, obstacles in the pursuit of the study. Sahana bhavatu. This whole Shanti mantra, this is called a Shanti mantra. This Shanti mantra is actually not a part of this text, Tattva Bodha. This Shanti mantra is actually the invocation which belongs to Yajurved. Remember we said in the first class 4 Ved, 4 Ved hain, we all know that. Rigved, Yajurved, Atharved, Samaved. Or Rigved, Yajurved, Samaved, Atharvaved. Yajurved mein there are 2 shakhas, Krishna and Shukla Yajurved. This invocation is actually of Krishna Yajurved. What is the advantage of this, or what is the symbolism, or what is the significance is the right word. What is the significance of this? First and foremost, whatever Upanishad falls in this Ved, Krishna Yajurved, all those Upanishads will have the same Shanti mantra. That means with the Shanti mantra, I can always say which part of which Veda this portion belongs to, because Ved was one body, remember? They are not chapters, they are not distinct books like that. So there was a methodology adopted to understand without stating which shakha it meant, which part of the Ved it belonged to. This Sahana Vavatu has been extracted out of it and has come into a everyday format of Vedanta class, and its beginning in the last couple of decades. Before that, it was always just strictly only those who were studying the Yajurveda would chant this invocation. But as the knowledge started percolating into society, breaking away from its ritualistic concepts and adherence, it became available to everybody. As it became available, invocation of this nature started to be chanted before taking on a class. And I have given the twofold significance before. Primarily so that the student begins to clip off his preoccupied state of mind. When people were learning this exclusively, then the Shanti mantra meant that now I'm embarking upon the study of Yajurveda, and they had their chanting and they had what karma rituals associated with Yajurveda. Chanting is different of each way. But now for all of us who don't do all those rituals and everything, this invocation has been picked out, and almost in every Vedanta class, and even out of context you will find, even I have heard it even when there are death ceremonies, last sanskar being done, the Pandits are chanting this also. Ideally speaking, this is not a mantra for that. Then what is this a mantra, invocation for, mantra for? This is, let me do the translation first. And then we will go into the word meaning so that you absorb the invocation completely. And it is a great way to tune yourself. And it is a very unique method in Vedic Shastram where this particular invocation is given, is chanted, or is invoked is the right word, by the teacher and the student both together before the study of Brahma Vidya. दोनों इसको अपने अंदर invoke करते हैं so that we remain true to the study that we have to embark upon. So what is the meaning of this? A simple translation. May He protect both of us. May He protect us both. Sahana Vavatu. Sahana Vavatu is actually here, there is a sandhi. It is Saha. See the English translation where I am showing my cursor. Saha Nau Avatu. Saha Nau Avatu. When the sandhi joins, it becomes Saha, remains as Saha. Na Vavatu. Na Vavatu is actually Nau Avatu. Nau Avatu. What does this sentence mean? This is a sentence in itself. Saha na vavatu is a sentence. There's a full stop after that. This sentence means, may he protect both of us. I'll go into the meaning later. Then the second sentence is, Saha nau bhunaktu. Saha nau bhunaktu. May he nourish both of us. May he nourish both of us. Saha viryam karavavahai. Saha viryam karavavahai. May we both acquire the capacity. What capacity? Therefore, to explain that, to study and understand the Shastra. Viryam karavavahai. Fourth sentence. Tejasvi navadhi tamastu. Again, here there is a sandhi. So it will be Tejasvi. See the English translation where my cursor is. Tejasvi now adhitam astu. These four words together is Tejasvi navadhitam astu. What it means is, may our study be brilliant. Then the next sentence, fifth one, ma with vishavahai. Ma with vishavahai. Ma with vishavahai. Maybe not literal word is hate each other, but meaning would be maybe not argue with each other. And then Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. The three peace, Shanti, invoking the Shanti at three levels. Now just to take the meaning, understand it a little more. Om is always the first word that we take for any auspicious undertaking. Om is a word which is denoting auspiciousness. It's called Mangala Charanam. Means it, chanting Om itself means we are invoking auspiciousness. Mangalam. Mangalam is the right word. Mangalam means, Mangal word itself hai Mangal Kamana. There are many words, as I said in one of my beginning classes, initial classes, many words. I may use an English term, but I will specify its original word so that as the word is, the meaning will be most clear in that sense. Mangal word means Mangal kya ho sakta hai kisi ke liye. Om is a word which invokes Mangal. Mangalta means Mangalam for the living being. So the one who chants Om here before the invocation means I am in that mode of, call it prayer, where I'm invoking what is Mangal for me. Shubh Kamana. What is Shubham for me? What is Shubham for me? Here, Om, why is it Mangal? Because Om is actually also a name for Brahman. Brahman is the word for the absolute truth, which is Nirgun Nirakar, the substratum, which is going to be the topic of Vedanta. That Brahman, because it's contactless by the senses, you are the Brahman, but your senses can't know you. In the sense, the senses can't even know the thought. Then where can they know your real nature? So, Brahman being that real nature, how will I invoke Brahman when I can't even contact it? Shastra has a beautiful methodology. It said, when you say Om, Om is calling out. You're calling out to what? Brahman. But Brahman non-contactable. But the minute you call out, it is like saying, when it's a crowded room and you have a young child, and the child is, because it's young amongst the adults, it can't be seen, it's got merged in all the adults. Say the child's name is anything, say Shruti is the child's name. Now you are looking for your child, you can't see your child, you can't hear your child. So what do? You go up to the mic and you just say Shruti. The minute you say your child's name, who all will turn their attention to the sound? Your child will react the most because he will identify your sound. There may be 3 Shrutis in the room, but all 3 will not have the same response. Your child will respond to your sound, your call, and instantly there is a connection. This is that example to convey Brahman when you call Om. If you are calling it with devotion, Brahman, non-contactable, yet the connection is formed, and Brahman in his first manifestation as Ishvara, which you will see the whole prakriya through the text as we move along, in this context to understand, Om becomes the name of that Ishwar. That means you have called, and who will respond if you call? If you have devotion in your heart, if you are really calling, then but natural, whom you are calling responds back. And this is a beautiful visualization to tune the mind that every time I chant with this understanding that I'm calling, it's not an inert word. Sadly, and I'm saying this really very, very with a heavy heart, it is sad that this invocation has become mechanical today. Even before a Vedanta class, people just close the eyes and do it mechanically. This is not a mechanical invocation. It is invoking. Invoking means if you don't feel it, don't invoke it, don't chant. It's okay, perfectly fine. When you are in the ready mode and you invoke it, it will be something else completely. That means when I say Om, I am calling out to that entity which is the giver of all auspiciousness, which bestows auspiciousness to life forms, to life, everyone's, whoever calls. There is no preference here. That Om meant auspiciousness. There is a lot more into Om. Om is actually one word prakriya. Prakriya means entire truth is unfolded in this one word Om. What I said, all 10 Upanishads, Brahma Sutras, Smriti Granthas, Prakana, all the knowledge contained in all of them is also contained in one word Om. And the elaboration of this one word Om is actually Mandukya Upanishad. So we will not touch upon it. I am only mentioning this to make us appreciate the value of the word Om. Yes, Om is significant. It is not a mere sound. This whole word has in itself capsuled, such is the genius of our rishis and our parampara and our teachers. The genius is that if I am an adhikari, I guess for most of us, let's put it this way, one who is an adhikari will not need all that elaborate literature. Om word itself will be sufficient to convey the truth. So the gradation of adhikari means the gradation and the length of Shastra Adhyayana. Om, every invocation, every prayer starts with Om because of this. That whoever is an adhikari, अगर वो ओम भी सुन लेगा, उसको ओम की बाकी सब वो होमवर्क पहले कर चुका है अपना, then that word can crystallize the knowledge in him. You know how you have titration process in chemistry labs for those who are science students. That titration process is a beautiful experiment that you go on putting one liquid over another liquid, nothing is happening. And you're supposed to count the number of drops before suddenly the liquid at the bottom gets changed, crystallizes, changes its color, crystallizes. And how many drops it took to crystallize that, you cannot determine one drop before. In the same way, all the effort that one undertakes to know oneself, which is that effort final going to be, nobody can determine. But whoever it is, Shastra gives that benefit of doubt to everybody. Maybe you have evolved means you have worked hard on yourself enough that even one word of Om is sufficient to remove that little layer of ignorance that you are sustaining, avidya that you're sustaining. All these terms you will get familiar with as we move on. So Om is invoking the name of the Supreme. Here the English translation is calling the name of Supreme. Saha means both of us. Here both of us, as I said, the teacher and the student. Teacher here means the one who's sharing, and student means the one who wants to receive that. The willingness to share, student means the readiness to receive. This Saha means that. Saha now avatu. Avatu means protect. Now, avatu comes from the root word ava rakshane. Sanskrit, I said there are words that have only roots, dhatus. And from dhatus, you have multiple ways in which words can be formed. Many words can be formed from the same root, and they can convey different things. Ava rakshane is the root, means protect. Incidentally, Om also comes from the same root ava. Therefore, Om also means auspicious protection. May I be protected. Sahanau avatu means may we both be protected. Protected by what? Seems a very strange thing. Protection in two levels. One, highest level, higher the adhikari, highest level protection is Brahma Vidya. Means what is a Vedantic transaction for? For Brahma Vidya. May we be protected because Brahma Vidya is the greatest protector, highest protector. What does it protect you from? Protects you from sansara gati. Protects you from punarapi jananam. Protects you from all the afflictions of life, after life, after life. This janma, giving up the body, getting another janma, God alone knows which body, which gender, which form. You're not even ensured a human form again. Means the whole sansara cycle that one is already a part of. Avatu means may we be protected from that cycle. So the teacher and the student are both invoking Om, Brahman, calling Brahman and calling him to say, protect us both. Means here the teacher is said to be two kinds of teachers. The Shastra says, one is a Brahmanishta teacher. Brahmanishta teacher doesn't need this protection because himself is Brahman. But one who's already in the process of it, but is a lot more knowing than the student is, but would like to retain his own personal gati for Brahma Vidya establishment. That student and that teacher becomes a teacher for those who do not know that also. Like you have in schools also. And in schools we had one day was a parent, what is a teacher's day? A teacher's day. A teacher's day is what? Where the higher class students are given one day to become the teacher for the younger classes. Very interesting parampara this is. That means every person is given they at least know more than those that are in the lesser grade. Sahana Vavatu means both the teacher and the student understand the value of this pursuit. And they say, may we be protected, means may we be, the interaction bring Brahma Vidya and may we be protected by Brahma Vidya. This is the absolute meaning. Relative meaning is, may we be protected in life. Because what I am about to undertake is a journey of learning something subtle. And I need protection in terms of my health and my comforts, whatever little. I should be protected against being pushed into a struggling mode of life, because everybody has to maintain their life. I should not be so pushed into that mode that I don't get the time or the leisure for Brahma Vidya. So may we both be protected against such circumstances that will push me away from knowledge and its pursuit. Sahana Vavatu, two meanings. Absolute, relative. Absolute means Brahma Vidya. May we both gain Brahma Vidya, because Brahma Vidya is the absolute protector. Relative means protection against all those circumstances which can push us into the environmental mode more than necessary, take our attention into aspects which take us away from Brahma Vidya and its pursuits. May we not have those. Protection against that. Then second line is Sahanau Bhunaktu. Bhunaktu basically means enjoy. Actually, literally, it should be enjoy. May we both enjoy the transaction. The student and the teacher says, may our study be enjoyable. That knowledge that gets communicated, when you start seeing it, it gives you a certain level of joy from within. Remember when what sort of a joy, the best example comes to me is when Eureka. Now, if there is knowledge that has formed the minute it formed, Archimedes said this, believed to be the first person who brought up the word Eureka. That Eureka meant a lot of joy, euphoria. It's like, something clicked, kuch samajh mein aa gaya. That joy from within. May the transaction be enjoyable. May there be, Bhunaktu, other word means nourish us both. Means whatever we learn, may it help us nourish our understanding, grow our understanding. May we both enrich each other with our transaction of learning. May it not be one-sided, where it just keeps a dry process of communication without any joy, drag, that kind of. No, let this be enjoyable. Let it be invigorating. Then the next line, Saha Viryam Karva Vahi. May we acquire the capacity. Viryam actually means strength. May we have the strength, acquire the capacity. For what? Because the invocation only says, may we have the strength. There are interpretations for what? Strength for what? One is to study and understand the scripture, the Shastra. May we have the capacity, the strength to understand, because knowing our Adhikaratvam, it will take some time for this information to be digested in my system. May we have the capacity, sustainability for it. Capacity to sustain the interest, sustain the effort, sustain the pursuit. May I have that capacity. May we both have the capacity for it. Other thing that it means also is, may we have the Kurva Vahai, may we have Viryam, may we have the capacity to endure the changes that will come during the pursuit of my Brahma Vidya. Life will bring me a lot of ups and downs. Prarabdha, You will learn it later. Means in general terms, it's destiny, fate. My own prarabdha will catch up with me many times during the class or during the interaction of learning. May I have the capacity to endure my prarabdha so that I can continue the pursuit till where tejasvi now adhitamastu. Adhitam means whatever we are studying, whatever we are going to learn, whatever we are putting effort for, it should make us both tejasvi. Tejasvi literally means tejas honam, brilliant. Brilliant means what? When you have all confusions gone from your mind, there is a clarity of mind. That clarity of mind is spoken of as tejas. May you be brilliant, means may your intellect get sharpened enough with facts of life, truths of life about yourself, and all confusions gone. That means my study should not be a burden. My study should not add material which means nothing to me. My study should not, means my attention should not be, or I should not flow with information in myself which have no relevance to myself. It should be tejasvi. Astu, let it be. So actually this prayer is so beautiful. My method of understanding this, or my way of understanding it, is when you say let it be, this is not a telling Om Bhagwan, telling the Supreme when I call him. It is not to say, it's not like a meek prayer. Let it be is an order. You're ordering the Supreme. You're ordering means you have the strength to tell him that I am invoking you for a subject which is to bring me to you, which is me, myself, ultimately. This you understand much later. But in the beginning, this let it be is not a poor attitude. This let it be is an attitude of strength, of order, capacity, conviction, strength to say, let my environment be conducive, let everything be fine, let my mind absorb. So all this is invoking it to say, जो जरूरत है सब till I am सब पूरी हो till I am in the process of this unfolding my knowledge to myself. And then the last Ma with Vishavahai. Ma with Vishavahai, as I said, is a very interesting line added in an invocation, Vedic invocation, where the teacher and the student are saying, may we not hate each other. I will take the literal one first because, yes, even this is possible in any communication. That the communication, this is to do with the process of communication. The communication can go so wrong that there can be hatred between the teacher and the student. This, the Shastra warns us. The student and the teacher are both saying, protect us against it. I don't want an experience of such a transaction where it is actually brought an effect of hating. The student can hate the teacher and the teacher can hate the student. Means these emotions, these unwanted sansar is what I would call it. Unwanted sansar can generate itself because the transaction is functioning in the realm of ignorance. Even if the teacher gives the best, the student is still in his mode of being a jiva. And it can also mean in another way. Hatred can also mean sometimes things get egoistic. People take the knowledge in a very egoistic manner. So you present a point and the student presents their point, and while you're in the process of clarifying, there is ego functioning on either side. It can be from the teacher's side, it can be from the student's side, so then the argument starts. So the main purpose of unfoldment vanishes then it becomes who's right. Invocation says, may we never reach that point. May the learning, may the transaction remain so pure in its purpose that such things should not emerge. So the prayer, it's a prayer. This invocation is a prayer, and I am avoiding using the word prayer because prayers have their own meanings to each one of us. This is invoking. How we do Ganesh Chaturthi? You make a lump of Ganesha with your turmeric and you invoke Ganesha. The invocation means you invoke this before you embark a study. This is the meaning of this Shanti. And I hope this is clear. We will touch it. Now from next class onwards, I will repeat one line and I will have one of you volunteering. You can raise your hand. Volunteering to follow after me so that we learn one, whoever wants to. And then very soon we'll all be learning and we'll all can chant it together. But from next class. The last line is Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. These three Shantis, of course, one thing is very simple. We don't need to complicate the meaning. It's just to emphasize, let there be peace. Because our minds are agitated. Our minds are disturbed. There's disturbance in the environment. There is susceptible disturbance at every point of life. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Again, Om before. To say, let there just be peace. I'm definite about saying, I desire peace. If you elaborate, because people are not enough with this much, so the acharyas in the process have elaborated the three Shantis and said one Shanti is referring to the disturbances that come from nature. From nature is earthquakes and those that are not in your control. The other Shanti, second Shanti, is from external sources outside of you. So there could be disturbance. There are sounds across. There are bugs across. In those days, people learnt under the trees. So there could be, or in present time, our Shanti would mean, hey Bhagwan, let my internet keep functioning. You know, it's like that Shanti at this point. Like if our internet goes, our class goes. You know, so it's like Shanti. It can happen. It's an external disturbance that can be caused. So it's Shanti at that level. And then the third Shanti is at an internal level. May I not have a headache and a stomachache, and let me be disease free, and let me be, struggle free, and let me not have tensions in my life, and me being a cause of my own disturbance. Let there be no disturbance from within me. So the three Shantis means from external natural causes which we have no control over, like earthquakes and floods and unprecedented rains and unprecedented diseases. And if anything affects anyone, our study gets interrupted, our absorption gets interrupted. And always remember, our first class or the second class, Veda says, optimize your life. And to optimize your life, your inclusion of moksha as your pursuit should also be there. To include that means all the other dissipating things should be less. So all these unnecessary things that can take my time and energy away, a true student is not interested in all that. He wants to remain away from all that. So Shanti, as that powerfully said again, this is not a prayer of a meek. This is actually the prayer of the one who knows what he is asking, because he knows what he's asking is for the truth. Therefore, he commands it. He does not plead it. It's not a pleading prayer. It's a commanding prayer. I command Ishvara. I command Brahman. Command Brahman in the form of Ishvara. May all this be done for me, because I am going to be embarking on a process which is extremely subtle and needs all my attention. Bhagwan, you can't do this for me. I'll have to do it for myself. Therefore, what you can do for me, keep Shanti outside. That's not in my control. When I am embarked on my study, let there be Shanti from natural forces. Let my internet function. Let there be no disturbance from outside. Let there be no unnecessary calls and no unnecessary that time that I have taken for Brahma Vidya. Let me be available there and let my inner body support me. Let my mind support me. Shanti, Shanti. That Shanti itself, by the time the student starts with the first Om here and comes to Shanti, the teacher and student, if they do it in the real sense, have both now actually got aligned to the topic. The purpose of invocation is align yourself to the topic before the transaction starts. If this alignment doesn't happen, communication doesn't happen. And the only way to know the truth is actually to hear it. That hearing is communication. And most often we all know there is no communication in the world. And Brahma Vidya is even less. However many classes are going on, however much Vedanta has come in society, as much as it has come into society, has so much communication happened? Communication remains as rare as it ever was. That rare one who sought it and went to Himalayas searching for truth and found his rare teacher. As rare as that occasion was, so rare it remains today. The availability may have increased, but the communication hasn't improved because communication requires something else. So every person tries his level best that may I, from my side, step it up to the level that is possible so that the communication is complete. So the teacher says, may I have all this Shanti around me. May I not have disturbances around, so that I am ready to become the instrument to communicate this. May the communication flow from my side without hindrance, without egoism, without personal bias, without misinterpretations. All that I'm ready to undertake, let this happen. And the student also does this from their side and says, let me also commit to it in the manner that I receive it without all this. And therefore, that alignment makes the communication possible. And all communication of this nature is exactly like water flowing from higher to lower. You know how water from a higher place flows to the lower automatically? Knowledge flow is supposed to be like that. It just flows without hindrance because Ved is a praman. The hindrance is from all our internal blocks. So when there are blockages in our minds, the knowledge ceases. And if the blockages remain, after a particular time, there is no communication. And if there's no communication, it's nishprayojan. So you can have listening and listening and listening and listening, continuing, but no communication. This can be possible. So the teacher and the student are both saying, I don't want to enter that realm. Let me be protected from that realm. Let the communication be productive. Let it bless the person who listens with the knowledge. The student says, keep the teacher blessed, keep me blessed so that we are. This is the invocation. As I said, from next time we will do this. We'll quickly take, or maybe we'll do this again next time. It is 12 o'clock. There's a lot of material already in these days. Tattva Bodha. Okay, let me do this quickly. Tattva Bodha is ascribed to Shankaracharya. I'll just give a brief 1 minute thing. Then next class we will catch up from here. Shankaracharya is the great Acharya in the lineage of Advaita Vedanta Parampara. His greatness you can spend months talking about. Believed to be born in 788 AD, but this is not a factual figure. Like most of our great acharyas, unknown, unsung. In Kaladi, in Kerala. But Is this book ascribed to the same Shankaracharya? This has been the topic of, there is refutation on this. There are different opinions on it. And I think we'll take it up in the next class. So we will start from here. And by now, sure, the invocation being there, as I've said, this invocation is not a part of the text. This text has another invocation written by the Shankaracharya, author of this book, which we will also do after this. So we will continue with the invocation and the class time. With this, we will end this class. Let me stop the first and then stop the recording also. Just stop. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamivavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti